wait to get more on there and we'll see who talks first. How's everybody doing today? Well, today, now we're nighttime now. Who talks first? There's 5 of y'all here and only 1 like. That means 4 more can do it. Just because you're I'm gonna back out, you're still a like, man. You're there. That's all I said something. Yeah, let's see, we gotta get to. What is this for? Come on. Well, hopefully you feel better soon there. Did you ever get my email that I sent you in regard to what that I got afterwards? Did you get your email that I sent you? Let's see if 3 more gets on there, but hello there, Tammy Green. How you doing? I want to know what does everybody think about these plane crashes. I know there was a helicopter and plane crash in D.C. and then now there's another plane crash. So what does everybody think about it? I mean, I want to get everybody's opinion, because to me nothing makes sense here. Why? Strangely, I think what Trump comes off is that all these things are happening, and it's everybody's already trying to blame Trump. It has nothing to do with Trump. This has nothing to do with Trump. So we all need to stop this here blaming Trump. This has nothing to do with him. I usually don't go live, only once in a while on Friday, even all the time. But the fact there's another plane crash that happened just now in Philly, Pennsylvania, it's like, what is going on here? We all can have your own opinion there, but can't be blaming Trump. It has nothing to do with this, sir. I know that's what it seemed like to me. It's like that's what the whole plan was, to turn around and blame Trump. Everything, It's like, I don't know, I feel like this might have been like holes out there. That's just my opinion. Because something's not out of here. None of this stuff is. Yeah, I don't know. Something crazy thing that going on. And then, I don't know. Nothing to make... I mean, I'm still trying to understand all this stuff here. That's why, I mean, I'll go live for ask you guys, what do you guys all think? And so far, there's not really no viewers yet. It's like Chicago Young, and then Tammy's there. I am just very concerned with what's going on here, because it's just strange. All these things just happen out of nowhere. Because I mean, from what I see, the plane in D.C. and the helicopter, it's like they were flying directly at each other. But then, I don't know, they were saying something about the plane originally was going to take a different runway. He was supposed to take the other one. I don't know. So I am trying to understand what is going on here. You know, you had that terrorist attack that happened in New Orleans, and then you had a cyber truck that went in a Trump hotel, and then you got this here. They got the helicopter plane, and then now you got basically another plane. Supposedly it was a emergency plane. Nothing is making any sense here. Oh, I still fly. I'm still gonna fly, but I don't know. I like flying. I don't mind flying. It's faster, a lot faster. But something is very suspicious about this. Very, I don't know. You know, I mean, I have the right to my own opinion. With that shipping container, same thing that ran into the bridge. You know, that was a completely somebody has hacked that one. That was a hacked one. And some tell me this is probably the same thing here. Because nothing is making sense here. Nothing is. How all these things can happen. All now. Since Trump take office. All this happening. The whole thing. It's like it's the whole the shipping container didn't happen when Trump came in office. It happened before, but still. It's like, I mean, I don't know. Nothing makes sense here no more. You know, we all have the right to our opinion here, you know. So if you're not happy of what people say, then you can all leave. I don't mind. Yeah, I don't know. I have zero clue what's going on these days. All I know is they need to start doing their investigation and see what's really going on here. And they need to be transparent. They need to tell us what's really going on here. Because it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. Nothing does right now. You know, I don't know. You want to say something, then of course you might say something. Somebody might turn on and change it and say, "Oh, you said that's sure," or whatever, or take it the wrong way. But I don't know. Nothing's making sense to me. So we can turn the other phone on. I know JLR investigation. I think he's live right now. They're talking about it. He's got a report going on now regarding to what's this whole plane crash thing. I mean, I like to know what's going on here. Just nothing. It's all at once. So let's. I wish I can't restream on my phone there because it gets hot. Everything gets freaking hot these days. And I'm not gonna go buy a brand new phone, people. Phones cost money. And money we don't have right now. So, but we can turn the camera my way. And then we can, you guys all could stare at me for a little bit. So what does everybody think? We got Tammy thinks of DEI. Chicago Young. You haven't answered my question yet. Did you ever get the email yet that I sent you? I need to know that you got it yet. And yes, guys, I am eating carrots, okay, because I'm hungry. And instead of eating out, I'm eating carrots right now. I got carrots. I'm eating carrots, and carrots are good for your eyes. So I bought a bag of carrots yesterday, and I took it with me. And a nice, very nice lady made me, not really made for me directly, but she made soup, and she gave me soup, so it was very nice. I liked it. Alright, so we got that. Chicago Young, are you still there or no? I don't. So. I mean, I want to talk about things here, but. But the whole plane thing. This plane, helicopter, now another plane. The only way it crashed, it went to a building. And now some places are on fire too now. Alright, Chicago Young, did you get my email yet? And I need to know that you got it. If not, then I'll have to go back and try to, after the last stream, I'll figure out try to see what's going on there. It should have been sent to you.
Pursue your passion for working with animals.
Yeah, come on.
Demand career in veterinary healthcare, all at your own pace. Open the door to new opportunities with Penn Foster's affordable online vet tech associate degree.
Do you want to sell your house fast? Do you feel overwhelmed and stressed out about it? It doesn't have to be that way. Liz buys houses makes selling your home for cash.
Yeah, everybody is getting sick there. I don't. Everybody is getting sick there. I don't know what's going on there. Trying to get this in New York here, but All right, so what I'll do is, after the live stream is done, I will go back on there and see what's going on, because it says it's supposed to be sent. I don't know. I know that I've done it many times before. So I'll go back in there after the live stream is done, and it goes to the same email address. I don't get why it's not going through. But
Bluetooth connect.
Because this is something that I'm not gonna talk to you over the live about it. Hope you understand. Let's get over here. Out there. We could have seen Cash Kelly. I was gonna say Cash Patel, but not Cash Patel. Cash Kelly. We could have seen yesterday, but we needed the money to get our Cash Kelly and then some other lady, and then the mayor of Chicago, that used to be the mayor of Chicago.
Investigators here, and again, that's also why they're talking to the tower right now to figure out exactly what the tower knew, what they saw, what they heard, if there was any transmissions between the tower and the pilots before. All of that is going to be broken down, and again, all of the types of things that when we've been watching the ongoing news coverage of what happened in Washington, even though this flight may have had significantly less people on it, they're all going to look at many of the same things to see how exactly this happened. It isn't because of weather that there's a ground stop, it's because of the plane crash. So we do know right now that that's why nothing is taking off here at Northeast Airport. But within just the past 20 minutes, I can say we've seen at least 4 or 5 people arrive. Investigators, we don't know. When it comes to the FAA and the NTSB, they have investigators that are stationed, in different areas of the country to respond. So, that could be people that are coming to respond to that to begin the investigation. So police still have a presence here, but obviously they want to put the majority of their resources to the catastrophe that they're seeing all around in the Northeast right now, from the multiple things that are happening. Besides the plane crash, besides the debris that's on the ground, you have the fires, then you're going to have to cut off gas lines and...
What is going on?
There's a driver from a small town in Illinois who walked away with $80,000 after their car accident last month. Here's the shocking part. They didn't win the lottery.
So that plane not only left a little bit after 6, it crashed at 6:30, but it was headed for Springfield, Missouri. Now, on these flights, if this is a flight that was a medic flight and it had up to 6 people on it, then that could also mean that there are potential to be either a doctor, a medic, a nurse, somebody from the healthcare profession on that flight. If you have a patient on a flight like this, they need to be monitored throughout the entire flight. And it's tricky. You're dealing with they're in a different situation. They're out of a hospital. So depending on the extent of care that patient might need, they're going to need somebody with them, a medical professional, and potentially too, maybe a family member as well. So hearing again that this is for a medic flight and this is what went down is just, it's so sad and so tragic. And, we're still just working to find out a little bit more information about what exactly the mission of this flight.
Annie, thank you for your perspective and your great reporting there as we continue to take a look at some of these images of this plane that went down here in Northeast Philadelphia. We talked about the situation in Washington, D.C. Over the Potomac, where the American Airlines flight slammed, or the Black Hawk slammed into the American Airlines plane. We saw that go down. 67 people losing their lives. But when you look at this video, in our own backyard, it's a different situation, and it brings it closer to home. As we know, there will be mass fatalities. We've seen the videos of people on fire walking down the street there in Northeast Philadelphia. And there's the explosion as that plane goes down. We know. People, their lives.
What we also realize about this is the magnitude of the scene. The scene itself is, because it's a populated area, the impact is different because there are people on the ground who were walking the street, who were getting on the bus, who were walking to their cars, who were coming out of their homes. It's so populated in this particular area that the scene itself that needs to be tended to. Our first responders have quite the job right now. I'm actually just speaking with a commander in the fire department, and when they showed up, they described all the things on fire, where to start, where to go. Cars were on fire, houses were on fire, and they are still trying to secure this scene.
It is difficult to wrap our minds around this. We've heard people talk about that this scene is horrific. They are in disbelief. Someone described it as a mini earthquake when they heard that explosion.
Let's now go to Action News reporter Jessica Cartalia, who is working the story as best
why does it keep buffering?
She can. Her location, Anna, but we do have Jessica Cartalia who's going to join us. She's right there near the scene as well. Jessica, what have you learned?
Hi, Shari. Yeah, we arrived at the scene and everything is cordoned off in this area. Joining me now is Jimmy Weiss. Jimmy, you saw this entire event unfold.
Pretty much. Some people sent me videos, but we were right here and we heard a loud explosion and then saw the aftermath of flames and smoke. Common sense dictated that I not get close to it. And then very quickly, just a cavalry of police and first responders. God bless them for going into like a medical transport. It was a couple doctors transporting a patient to like Memphis or somewhere, something with an M or. But there had been 6 people on board, and then we think it may have broken apart above the mall because there's plane parts in the mall parking lot, but then it hit like at Cotman and around Leonard Street.
So you were over in this area, of course, a busy time of night. People are here getting dinner. That's what you were doing?
Yeah, just walking around, figuring out where we might get something to eat.
In the immediate aftermath, how soon before police started to arrive and people started calling 911?
It seemed like within a minute. You could hear sirens approaching, and then it just swarmed. They were just an immediate response.
And Jimmy, in light of what just happened in Washington, D.C., what went through your mind immediately when you saw that plane go down?
Well, you don't want to think you don't want to think the worst things, but obviously it's very concerning to have 2 aviation disasters so close together when we haven't had one really in quite some time. So it's concerning for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're with your family, is that correct? What did you guys do as soon as you saw the police starting to move in?
We just kind of sat there with our jaw dropped. We started to inch a little closer, but then the police started cordoning everything off. So I didn't want to get too close because it just looked bad. And other people running towards it, and too many cooks spoiled the broth, so I didn't need to be in the way.
Now, if somebody is just joining us and did not hear, bomb was going off. Is that what it felt like to you?
It felt like the ground shook, and you could hear it was a loud boom. It was startling, for sure.
Did people start running toward the scene? My understanding is that people were running toward to try to get video as opposed to running away from this scene.
Yes, a lot of people did do that. I'm not that person, so I'm not taking videos. Like when I go to a concert, I want to hear the concert, not film the concert. So
why does it keep?
I just kind of stayed back, let everybody else take care of it, and let first responders, arrive and do their due diligence. I'm not looking for a second explosion. So once I hear one explosion, another one will come after it.
Tell me what y'all think.
I have children, and they want me to.
Everybody's opinion.
Sadly, some people, won't have that luxury. Very sad.
Jimmy, people who are not from this area, can you describe what this area is typically like right around dinner time and what kinds of people, how the traffic situation was? Because, of course, as this comes down, it leads to a major incident with fire after that explosion. And this is a very busy time of day.
This is a pretty busy area. It's Cottman and Bustleton. It's, the Roosevelt Mall's been here my entire life. People are getting something to eat. They're shopping. There's a lot of restaurants. There's a lot of commerce here. So it's typically pretty busy either way, even with the weather.
Jimmy, thank you. I really appreciate your time, and I'm glad that you're safe. And thank you for sharing that with us. So we're going to continue to monitor the situation out here. We've talked with several on the street here, and he says that the weights literally started to fly off the walls. The building was shaking so furiously. But Shari, we'll stay on the scene and we'll bring you more as soon as we have it.
Jessica, thank you. We want to go to a live briefing right now where officials are giving an update. Let's listen in.
Okay, they're still preparing for it. They're still preparing for this update here.
This is unbelievable.
We know that they are hoping to come to give the public a preliminary update for what they know at this point.
We need to know how many died, but it's at least 6.
Christy Aletta, who's here in the studio with us, and the images that we are getting from our viewers, Christy, they are astonishing. Devastating, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, and we've been playing this video for sure because this is one of the best ones that gives us a good vantage point of what actually happened. And we know that moments after this crash, residents and witnesses immediately began contacting our newsroom with videos and pictures of not just the aftermath, but also the impact. This is the ring cam video that we've been playing on repeat pretty much of the crash happening on Roosevelt Boulevard and Cottman Avenue. You can see a couple that were leaving their home, and then suddenly a large bang, which was the moment the plane crashes to the ground, and suddenly a massive fireball lights up the sky just behind those row homes over there. And then I want to go to another video because this gives us a different vantage point of the crash. This time near the right. Action News viewer says that he was in his car in the parking lot and witnessed the moment the plane went down. And then you see that large fireball in the distance. Smoke billows over that parking lot, and then you can see residents began screaming in horror, kind of running to the scene, trying to see what happened and make sense of everything that's unfolding. And then this video from Cynthia M shows a closer perspective of the aftermath. A parking lot ablaze, and it appears from this point several cars possibly also on fire, debris of what appears to be parts of the plane, and maybe some of the adjacent vehicles scattered all over the strip mall. And also a neighborhood. You're actually getting to see just how close this is to where people live. And then this final video, again, of the aftermath, parts of what are presumably, again, the plane, possibly cars, anything it may have hit, scattered along the 6-lane highway of Roosevelt Boulevard. And then the sobering sound of sirens as first responders are now racing to the scene. And the video showing us just how close, again, this is happening to homes, the residential area, the business district. We've been hearing so much from the reporters around scene that this would have been a very busy time on a Friday evening, regardless of the weather, because this intersection, this neighborhood is so populated. People coming out of their homes, which are literally steps from the scene, standing in horror, trying to figure out what has happened. Certainly, this is nowhere close to the magnitude of what unfolded in Washington just a couple highway, Roosevelt Boulevard, in a business district, and in a heavily populated neighborhood where, like we've been mentioning all evening, this just doesn't really happen, and now it's happening so close to home. Gray.
Yeah, Christy, seeing the images puts everything into perspective. This is our backyard. This is our home. We know the presser is about to start, so let's listen in to officials as they brief us on what happened today.
Start by thanking each of you for being here. I want to go through some basic facts about what we know for certain right now. An aircraft went down in the vicinity of Roosevelt Mall on Cottman Avenue. This occurred shortly after 6 p.m. this evening. As of right now, we have no reports on the number of fatalities. So right now, we're just asking for prayers for any and everyone who may have been affected. We do want to note that several dwellings and vehicles were impacted. So what are we asking you to do for us right now, Philadelphia? We're urging you to please stay away from the scene. If you see debris, call 911. Don't touch anything. This is still an active scene under investigation. I'm proud to note that all of our federal and state partners, they are either en route here or on the ground with us right now. We did see some neighbors who live in the surrounding.
Come on.
When daylight comes, when we have more facts and information to share with you. But I do want to say a special thank you right now, again, to all of our federal and state partners and our amazing first responders right here in the city of Philadelphia. Our fire, our EMS, our police department, they have been here working vigorously to ensure that we get this perimeter and the surrounding area blocked off, to ensure that we make public safety and health our number one priority. So we don't have any further information to share at this time. I've spoken to our Governor Josh Shapiro. He is en route. I've spoken to our U.S. Senator John Fetterman, other federal officials, and everyone, all hands on deck. That's where we are right now. Thank you so very much, and we'll have more information to report in the near future.
Thank you, Mayor.
That is Mayor Sherrill Parker giving us our first update that we have officially
nothing from the police,
from city leadership since this Learjet 55 went down just after 6 o'clock tonight. So that's our first update. But what we're hearing is they are really in the process of doing their due diligence of still trying to confirm who has been impacted and where we are in regards to injuries.
Yeah, numerous people were set on fire.
But so now she's asking for prayers, urging people to stay away from the scene, just reiterating how active this scene is and that public health and the safety of everyone who is near this area and doing their best to work this scene is really the priority right now.
You can hear the emotion in the mayor's voice there as she briefed us on what she is now learning about this breaking situation as that plane went down a little after 6 there in Northeast Philadelphia. She's stressing that officials at this point are not sure about the number of fatalities. Again, they're asking for prayers. They're asking you to stay away from this area. She did confirm several buildings and cars were reportedly on fire. We also know that the FAA, the NTSB investigating this. She alluded to the fact that Governor Josh Shapiro on his way to the scene there. Federal and state partners are either there on the scene or they are en route. We can see looks like a worker with the FAA. I think that's a shot there of Northeast Philadelphia Airport where there has been a ground stop because of that plane that went down in Northeast Philadelphia. And as Christy Aletto was showing us the video of the aftermath of what looked like a bomb went off in Northeast Philadelphia. And there you see the fireball as that plane went down. And now begins the questioning, Shari, of, as we learned, it was on a medical mission going to Missouri, and now becomes what happened. Why did this happen?
And we see the different as the official with the FAA is now on the scene at the Northeast Philadelphia Airport. We know the NTSB ultimately will take over the investigation and lead it. But this is really a phased situation. And I just got off the phone with one of the fire commanders. And what has to happen is it's the fire department who must first clear and calm this scene. That is mission number one, get the fires under control. The commander sharing with me that most of the fires are now extinguished. They do have some hot spots, but they feel good about the majority of what was burning is now under control. That this went up just to about a 3-alarm fire, some 130 to 150 firefighters coming out to get the fires under control of the homes, the cars, and of course the scene of the actual crash involving the plane. So that is positive news that that first line of getting the scene under some relative control of what was burning now has been mostly now extinguished for those fires, because the next step will then be for the police to be able to go in, the NTSB to be able to go in, and the FAA to go in closer. But first, they have to secure that scene.
And we continue to situation there in Northeast Philadelphia. We have heard from witnesses throughout the night. We want to get you back now to Action News reporter Jessica Cartalia, who is on the ground there talking to witnesses. Jessica, what are you hearing? What are you seeing? Set the mood there for us there in Northeast Philadelphia.
Great. It's really incredible. There's such an active scene here behind me, and people have so many questions. And what's interesting in covering a story in this time is people are sharing video nonstop. So some people were here at the scene. Some people were working out nearby. A very busy evening here in this area. People running out to pick up dinner. And so many people saw this. Joining me now, David, you're from Ronhurst. You were at home and you felt this.
Yes, I felt the shockwave of the explosion all the way from my house. And I live like 5 minutes from Cotman, and it was just insane because after that I had a bunch of people call me, like my friends, tell me what was going on. So many videos were being sent, and just all over Instagram and TikTok, just videos of the plane crashing, graphic footage of, I've seen body parts scattered all over the explosion, and it was just very graphic.
And that's a big challenge for us as well, because we're seeing this video as well, but it's very difficult to see at home. As soon as you arrived here on the scene, what did you see as far as the officers arriving and emergency personnel?
What I've seen is mostly, when I was arriving here, is smoke. Just smoke everywhere. People all around here. This is honestly the most busiest I've seen Cotman, like with cops and just people in general.
Okay. You said your sister lives nearby, or one of your friends had witnessed it, and
Yes.
What did they tell you?
They just told me that he was on his way to the gym, and he just witnessed the explosion, and he was like very shocked and surprised.
Yeah. You have seen this video circulating. What have you found to be most concerning? You know, we've been talking and covering extensively this crash in Washington, D.C. Any fear go through your head when you first saw these videos?
When I first saw these videos, I was mostly shocked and like fear. I'm not really scared of this, but it will go through people's heads to be more cautious and to be careful out here.
Okay, absolutely. And what are you doing now? You're just here for the scene?
Yes, I'm just here looking at this, and it's honestly one of the most probably traumatic experiences of Philly.
Yeah, I think people are just really drawn to this because they've never seen something of this magnitude in this area.
Nothing is, I've lived here for almost like all my life, and nothing like this has ever happened before.
Yeah. David, thank you so much for talking with us. I really appreciate it. And thank you for sharing the video with us as well. And again, Shari and Gray, there's quite a bit of video to comb through. And unfortunately, some of it is extreme. Get that video to you as soon as possible, but we'll stay on the scene. We've talked to so many people who were in this area. They said they come here. It's a typical Friday night. They're picking up dinner. Some are at the LA Fitness, which is right across the street. There's also a nail salon here behind me. Hundreds of police troops, of units here at the scene as well. And you can still hear the fire trucks and ambulances behind me. Shari, you had mentioned that the fires appear to be out. It's now dark, so it's really difficult to see any of that smoke. But as we were pulling in, you saw some of that smoke billowing. And the video from the aftermath as soon as that plane crashed is really phenomenal. There's no other word to describe it. It's just really, really difficult to look at. So we'll continue to gather the news out here and send it back your way.
Yeah, you're so right about the images that we're not showing and that you can find on social media, and just really showing just how intense this situation is and the number of people impacted. Jessica, thanks for your reporting from there and the interview of what the witness shared as well.
And as we continue to report on this breaking news, we want to kind of put this in perspective in terms of the distance from the Northeast Philadelphia airport to where this plane went down. It is less than 4 miles. So that tells you this plane was not in the air very long. Now begins the work of investigators, as Shari mentioned, put out the fires first. The NTSB, FAA will come to the scene and they will collect those black boxes, which will hopefully give them some insight about what exactly transpired here. We know tonight that the aircraft that went down is a after 6 p.m. right there in Northeast Philadelphia along Cottman Avenue. You heard the mayor talking not too long ago saying at this point, we do not know the number of fatalities, but we do know people have lost their lives tonight. This is happening in our community. Mothers, fathers, sons, daughters impacted by this.
Let's go now to Action News reporter Annie McCormick, who is at the Northeast Philadelphia airport. These are the images coming from there as more federal officials are arriving who will be a part of getting to the bottom of what happened and what went wrong. Annie, can you hear us?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm standing right next to the camera. We want to focus on the video scene right there. You see a gentleman with an FAA windbreaker. I've seen a number of these people within the past half hour, 40 minutes, beginning to arrive with definitely a sense of urgency. So you have members of the FAA that are meeting here. Of course, the NTSB, the National Transportation Safety Board, that is an independent federal agency that is tasked with, among other transportation investigations. They also investigate anything with civil aviation as well. And so they will be tasked with this. So at this point, right now, they're finding out the basics, the nuts and bolts. They're talking to the tower. They're checking the last transmissions, the last communication that the tower had. Everything. So you can see it looks like there may have just been a meeting inside Atlantic Aviation. Bit more information. I don't have it confirmed that they took off from Atlantic Aviation. I have learned that the plane did take off from runway 24 here at Northeast Airport. It was a little bit after 6 when it took off. 6:30 is when the plane crashed. And Gray, I just heard you talking about, just the distance, just about 4 miles. And, in the air, that's a much shorter distance as well. So when I see the investigators responding here, we saw them loading up that truck right there. It looked like with, just the materials that they need in regards to their investigation. Not clear if they are going to the crash site now or if they already have other investigators there. And these investigators are tasked with finding out the information that they need from Northeast Airport. We do know now.
Commercial. Let's go.
4 months into my freshman year of college, I had to learn how to become a mom.
But my question is, did they find the black box on the other one, the helicopter?
Keeping up with my payments was the last thing on my mind. But when debt collectors started
playing in DC yet.
Than initially what the FAA said, which was just 2. If it was just 2 people on a plane in a medical jet, it was likely that they were either bringing organs for a transplant or something of that nature. However, if they're up to 6 on a jet, what we are hearing from sources is that it is believed that there were potentially 2 pilots, a patient, and then also people that were in the healthcare profession, whether they were medics, doctors, or nurses, we do not know at this time. But in those medical flights, when you have a medical jet that is flying, if you have a patient on board and you're taking them out of their, a hospital setting, or if they are receiving care on some level, and then you're putting them up in a plane, there's a lot of variables there. So you need constant medical attention when you're being transported. We do know that the flight was headed to Springfield, Missouri. So again, we're still trying to learn exactly what the mission was and why they were going there. So again, you can see a number of people now walking out of Atlantic Aviation. Like we said, at this point, we think it's only likely investigators, and police have remained here since we arrived. We've seen police here. And again, earlier, the FAA did initiate a ground stop here, and we were told that is specifically because of the plane crash. I say that, it seems obvious. However, the weather conditions tonight aren't great. Ricky Harris and I, photographer Ricky Harris, we were driving back from Delaware. I'm going to walk in front of the camera now that everybody's from Delaware, and it was so foggy, probably because of it's a little bit warmer than than it was at least 2 weeks ago. And because of that, it was incredibly foggy, hard to see when you're driving. But I've been told, and I preface this with, I am not an aviation expert. However, in talking to some people in the aviation community within the past hour, it was explained to me that there are specific types of jets that have special instruments that make it so that they're able to fly in conditions like this. And there's a wide spectrum of that. For example, you see, Coast Guard flying overhead in some crazy storm rescuing people. Obviously, they have special instruments. So it was explained to me that there is a wide spectrum. And so this medical jet could fall under that spectrum, but it does have the type of instruments that maybe a commercial flight may not have. So when we were initially questioning the weather conditions and whether or not a flight could go up, of course, that's one of several things that they're going to look at, that they're looking at right now in this investigation. What was the weather like? They're going to check the conditions of the plane. They're going to talk about the last communication that they had. They're going to talk about the fuel. They're going to check to see if this was potentially engine failure. And one person that I was talking to, the flight tracker apps, and I'm not saying a specific one, like a name brand, I just mean that there's a wide variety of them, and I looked at a few. You can see that when this plane went up and was only up very, very briefly, and how quickly it just came down. It had some people wondering if that was a sign of potential engine failure. Again, something that investigators will look into. In regards to federal investigators, when we've done these stories in the past, sadly, we've covered multiple helicopter crashes or plane crashes or things of that nature. When they come out here, they're going to be looking at pretty much everything. Now, these investigators are stationed in different areas of the country, different regions rather, of the country. I remember in the recent couple of years when there was a crash that we covered, some of them came up from Virginia, and they basically take over and they're going to start looking at everything, and they're going to, when they get the plane, actually get all of it, all the debris and everything, which will take time. They likely then will take every piece of that plane that they can get, bring it to a facility, and then they're going to lay it out and essentially reconstruct it and then piece it apart. That's how it's been explained to me in previous crashes that I have covered by federal agents that do investigate things of this nature. But again, it's the NTSB that will be, the independent federal agency that will be tasked with that. FAA detectives, Philadelphia police detectives initially were in the tower, likely maybe somebody with the federal government with them as well. We don't know. So again, gathering as much information as we can. I will tell you that at this point, we haven't seen anything of the nature that looked like family members. When I went into Atlantic Aviation, when we initially got here, it looked like there were some people that were waiting for later flights that then were told about the ground stop, and then they left. So at this point, we're not seeing any of that. But like we said, the Secretary of Transportation, who now is dealing with 2 plane crashes on his first week on the job, he's saying that 6 people on board this flight. So we're still learning to find out who exactly they were and what role they were playing in this medical mission that they were on.
Great reporting, Annie McCormick. Thank you for that. We should mention that Governor Josh Shapiro now on his way to this scene here. We were told he should arrive in about 15 minutes or so. Also, about 8:30, we heard from Mayor Sherelle Parker of the city of Philadelphia saying at this point, we don't have an exact number of fatalities. We do know indeed there are fatalities. We've seen videos of people on fire, cars on fire, buildings on fire. The mayor saying at this point, what we need is people to stay away from that scene. And also she's asking for prayers.
As we begin to approach the top of the hour, almost 9 o'clock here in the city of Philadelphia, I'm Shari Williams alongside Gray Hall. You're watching Action News. We're in continuous breaking coverage as we in the northeast section of the city. So far, we know that a Learjet 55 crashed just around 6:30, just before that time, after it departed from Atlantic Aviation, which is the airport in northeast Philadelphia there at the airport. We are learning from the Transportation Secretary. Their reporting is 6 people were on board this Learjet 55. Initial reporting said that secretary with the update saying that there are reportedly 6 people on board.
So I think that to a degree, that's kind of helping some people stay inside. But in between, when you came to me last, I went back on social media, and people definitely are, shocked, especially hearing that update that there were 6 people on board. And now, there is a question of, what exactly was happening, where we know they were headed to Missouri, what was actually on board. So there's all of those questions. But right now, we see officials again. I think these are fire officials. Hello, how are you? Fire officials making their way back to the scene, and that's really the focus here.
All right, let's keep your shot up here. I just Dawn kind of read the statement earlier, but it's from Jet Rescue Air Ambulance. That's who owned the plane and operated the plane, and they said at 6:25 tonight, Jet Rescue Air Ambulance experienced a crash. There were 4 crew members and 2 passengers, including a pediatric patient and an escort. You have to assume a child and a parent.
Right. And they were headed to Springfield Branson National Airport. That is in Missouri. Yeah. And Steve Keeley showed us earlier an oxygen tank with the company's name on it that presumably is part of this massive wreckage that has been just strewn across blocks and blocks of this area at Roosevelt Mall. Roosevelt Boulevard is closed. There is a sea of police, ambulance, fire, emergency responders here on the scene. And they've been here for just almost 3 hours now.
Yeah. We understand the governor's on his way. We'll hear from him when he gets there. Our Shawnette Wilson also reporting that people may be displaced, which would not surprise me at all with some of these homes that caught fire. And so, I don't know where they're going to go tonight. I'm sure people will step up and help them. Again.
And the mayor confirming, too, when you talk about people displaced, that homes and vehicles were impacted.
Absolutely.
And we've seen the video, so we know they were on fire. So, and also, Jason, as earlier in the evening, Steve was just talking about, the thick smoke, billowing into the sky, and people living in, working in those areas or just driving through, experiencing that. So just an awful, awful situation. Terrible night in every respect, and the weather certainly not helping the situation at all.
Yeah, if you're just joining us, 9 o'clock straight up here, and we're almost to hour 3 of our coverage of this disaster in Northeast Philadelphia. A medical plane carrying 6 people crashed on Cottman Avenue or near it, right parking lot somewhere in that vicinity. From the sky, creating a fireball, shaking the entire neighborhood. We have shown you many, many doorbell cameras, each one more shocking than the next. What are these firefighters carrying here? Not sure, but they are emerging from the scene. You're looking at Cottman. They're walking on Cottman Ave here. I think they have a ladder.
Right. It looks like equipment there that they're carrying, and it's been a long night for these emergency responders, Jason.
Yeah, and it's just
they've been in the thick of this for 3 hours now. We've had people describing the scene as chaotic. It does seem like it's calmed down substantially since we first went on the air with this disaster. But
beyond those firefighters are power, possibly PECO or another utility workers making sure that the gas lines are off and addressed. That was a big issue earlier. It literally struck so hard it rattled the underground gas lines, and there were fires everywhere. Yeah, right. Little fires everywhere. Some in a tornado type of pattern. Some of these fires, but those are all addressed. Again,
you can see, you can see this, this house here on the corner that Mark had shown us earlier, clearly impacted by this disaster, by fire. We understand that Governor Josh Shapiro is probably about 15 minutes away. And of course, we will be hearing from him. He probably needs to be briefed. We did not get.
Good luck, guys.
Good luck, guys. Sorry about
Here we go. Come on. Oh my God, we got a 101 super fractor. That's a 101 right there. I think it's our auto. It's our auto, guys.
See debris, because we've heard all evening that this debris is just strewn everywhere, all across this area. We saw
maybe a half mile.
Right. And if you see it, don't touch it. Just call 911 because the FAA and NTSB investigators need to piece this all together, and all of this will help them as they try to figure out what exactly went wrong tonight.
Mark, can you pan up? And I wonder if those drones are still there. At one point, there were 4 to 5 of them over the scene. There's one blinking. These, I would imagine, are, that looks like it could be a fire or police drone with cameras that really could give first responders a good idea of the crash scene, the perimeter, and any other evidence they might be able to gather. I have to assume that those who need medical attention have been addressed, transported. There's another one over, I believe that might be the mall area there. There's, again, it's a large scene between a residential area, businesses, restaurants, and so on.
What far those from Jericho?
Some smoldering homes, row homes in the area. So there may be some displaced people. We have crews headed to the hospital as well to see how that effort is going for anybody on the ground who may have been injured. Again, just so much to still be learned. And we just, all we can do is kind of give you the play-by-play here of what's going on here in hour 3. And it's still a very much an active scene. I have to think this is going to be a shutdown scene for days, if not longer.
And let's head back out to our Cheyenne Corinne, who is at the scene. And have you learned anything new? What's it like there at the moment?
Yeah, we're still working to, figure out more information. But right now, the scene, it honestly has remained the same. As you just said, Jason, I mean, we're now in hour 3. And this scene, it hasn't calmed down. We haven't seen less of a police and fire presence since we got here on scene. That means that there definitely is still, a lot going on behind me. You can just see based on the amount of flashing lights that are out here. Since I've been out here, I've also been trying to, check social media. As you heard my coworker, Shawnette, she's checking on those who are displaced because obviously, it's so close to homes here in Northeast Philadelphia that there are people displaced. We at least know that that home at the corner, those people, there's no way that they are still inside of their home. And actually, since you came to me, I haven't seen too many people in these homes right here come outside or even poke their heads outside. So we don't know if possibly those officers were telling people to, stay inside or possibly leave. But I do know people personally who live in this area, and just out of caution, which is probably a good idea, they are just evacuating the area. So although we haven't, people are just getting out of this area, and that's really what Mayor Sherrell Parker was focused on, was people staying safe. As you said, there's a lot of debris on this wet ground here in Northeast Philadelphia, and officials are telling people to not touch it. If you see something, call it in, because as you saw, my coworker Steve Keeley, he saw a really crucial piece of that jet on the ground. So if you see something like that, do not touch it and just call it in. Right now, as you said, this is just going to be, it's going to take some time to really get to the bottom of this. I can't imagine that Northeast Philadelphia is going to be the same anytime soon. I can imagine that this is probably going to be closed off for quite some time. We're going to be out here until it isn't at this point, but there's just a lot of people in the neighborhood that are on edge. We're not expecting something like this to happen. And again, we keep going back to the fact that just 2 days ago, we lost 67 people in the Potomac River due to a plane crash. And then 2 days later, about 2.5 hours away here in Northeast Philadelphia, we now have a plane suddenly come down, crash in the neighborhood, and, it's not looking good. So a lot of people are on edge. Right now, we're trying to get more answers for people, trying to get, some type of clarity about how this could possibly happen. But people are just really on edge about what exactly happened here, Jason.
Yeah, it's just still so shocking. After even all 3 hours later, we're still trying to sort through it. Steve Keeley is kind of walking around the neighborhood trying to speak with people. Control room. Check out his tweet. He was at a diner nearby, and Steve is reporting that debris. I think it's the Country Club Diner, which is up Cotton.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's right up Coppin. And he says, okay, this is his tweet. That's the picture of now a boarded up glass, and a piece of plane flew through that glass into that diner, which has since been evacuated. It's empty now. But a piece of plane flew into that diner. And so that is down the street from where Cheyenne is. And it just, again, a debris field that's stretching city blocks a quarter of a mile to more. So, and obviously that will be preserved.
Jason,
Yes.
I think that speaks to, the amount of injuries that could possibly be a result of this crash. Because, of course, we have the 6 people who were on the jet, but also, there's a lot more injuries that possibly could have come. We know that there were cars on fire. We know that there were homes on fire. As you said debris went into a diner. Those are a lot of people that are possibly injured.
Yeah.
So that's why we also have a crew going to the hospital, because we are expecting that there are going to be a lot of people that show up that, also were injured as a result of this crash too. So that's something that we also are trying to pay attention to as well. Anytime that there's flashing lights, and we just want to bring your attention to what's going on over here. It looks like police may just be making barriers, the red and yellow tape here. And then there's also a fire truck that here is leaving the scene.
All right, Cheyenne, thank you very much. Steve, I don't know if you can hear Steve Keeley or on the other side of the street. I just saw we just showed your tweet at that diner.
Jason, that's the story I was telling you in Dawn. I got off the air with you. I went in there. The police let me through the line. The manager let me in, and he showed me on his phone this piece. And as I said in the tweet, that piece didn't just go through the window and land on a table. It went through the diner, passed about 3 booths by the salad bar, and then hit a diner on the far side of the diner, eating restaurant, and it hit him in the head. I said, was he okay? He goes, no, I think he's hurt real bad. And so there was a big heavy piece of metal that came flying through the diner, and the diner is right next to the McDonald's you're looking at. And so that, you were talking about a half a mile, that, as Greg pans to the left, right across all 12 lanes of the boulevard, and then smoke. Greg, come back where I am, and you can still see smoke going up over the AutoZone store, which is at the corner of Cottman and the boulevard. And that smoke is about 3 or 4 blocks deep. And the reason the mayor was staying away from saying numbers is because you saw them. They fluctuated. The officials here on scene, as I reported way back when, confirmed that. But the mayor also is knowing the scene there. And she and everybody else out here is fearing and maybe fatalities on the ground. And I was showing you and talking about SUVs and trucks that were completely on fire, completely gutted out. And that was almost initially afterward. And I had said, I had come from the 5 o'clock live shot, which maybe was a half a mile from here. I was in that traffic, and it was stop and go traffic. And it's a busy mall. It's a busy time of day. And this is maybe one of the busiest intersections in Philadelphia, the Boulevard and Cottman Avenue. And there's a lot of people eating dinner and so many fast food restaurants you talked about, Jason. And I was in that Cane's Chicken place where I was close to the scene, right by the plaza entrance where all those flames were burning. So that is the fear, that there could be more deaths and fatalities than just on the plane itself because of where it crashed and landed. And that also tells you something. These pilots, even when they know that they are in trouble, they always try to steer it away from any other people, whether they're in the military or whether they're in general aviation. The last thing they want to do is hurt anybody on the ground if their plane is in trouble. That tells you that this plane was in dire trouble when they took off from Northeast Philadelphia Airport. So that is an investigation that could take months, but everybody wants to know what happened, because you would think right as a plane get ready to take off that it would go through the checkpoints, and it also, when they're going to fly from Philadelphia to Missouri, they're going to load up those wings and those fuel tanks. And that is probably why I was telling you how the heavy smell of jet fuel was thick in the air there, around there, and that also helped the flame spread so far through that debris field as that plane crashed right along Cottman Avenue, just past the boulevard. People are saying it could have been even worse than it already is because of where it could have landed, whether it was in the mall itself with all those stores, or whether it was on the boulevard with all that traffic. So as bad as it is, all you kept hearing from officials on the scene is it's bad and it could have been even worse. Jason, Dawn?
And we were hearing earlier tonight from an aviation expert talking about exactly what you just mentioned, Steve, that plane was filled with fuel. It was taking off. It was headed to Missouri with a pediatric patient on board. So it had, a significant flight to make to get this patient to Missouri when it just fell from the sky. And I was just curious, when you were inside that diner and you were talking to people, was the diner packed with customers as well when this piece of wreckage just went flying through the window?
Yeah, that diner, it's a busy diner, and it's open 24/7. It's open even on Christmas, but at dinner time, it is crowded. And then it was getting evacuated because people were being told to get out. Plus, everybody in the diner wanted to know what happened, so they were all curious, and they were among the first onlookers who got close and then got told to get away, and then got told to move their cars away because there's debris in the McDonald's parking lot and the diner parking lot. And they didn't need to be told there was debris down there because they were in there, a piece of the debris fly through the window and across the diner with such force. And then again, I'm going to remind everybody the air tank from the jet.
Is anybody here watching it?
Laying outside the McDonald's here on the corner of the boulevard. Just that alone, a heavy piece of steel could have done damage for somebody waiting for a bus on the boulevard in the 6 o'clock hour as well. So Governor Josh Shapiro should be here momentarily, and I will give you a warning and a heads up.
Why is filing your taxes with Free Tax USA different? Well, for starters, our premium federal tax returns are free for every...
Is anybody here?
You got to think a
If
sleepless
so,
night for this community.
let me know. If nobody's here, then I will just go and I'll watch it just myself. I'll say it again. Is anybody here? If so, please talk, say something. If not, then I will leave, end the live stream, and go watch it by myself. I'm guessing no one really wants to respond. I said it again, this will be the third time. Is anybody here? Please let me know if you're here. If not, no response, then I'm just going to leave and go watch it myself. I'm guessing that no one's here, no one cares.